Although boundary breaking, which allows the player to pause the action and move the camera almost anywhere, was a trick only possible on the PS3 version of The Last of Us, the remastered PS4 game does at least have a camera mode. It's quite limited in that you have an invisible circle around your character and you can't move beyond it, but the zoom is quite generous, and with a bit of fiddling around it's surprising how much detail you can see. Hello everyone and welcome to another Dino vid. Now, after all the heavy subjects we've looked at so far, I think we just need to relax. Now what we're going to do here is pick out bits of trivia, things you might not notice in casual gameplay, and I'm going to throw in a few character portraits just for some extra variety. Now, since I can't do boundary break stuff, any of that I include here will feel like theft from a very good video that's already been done. I'll leave a link to it in the description. Do go and watch because it's fascinating. I will, though, point out some visible items which are included and given more detail in that video. Now, this compilation is the first in what I reckon will end up being a series of 2, well, maybe 3, I don't know. And I've not made any attempt to go through the game in chronological order. That had actually been the original idea, but you know how it is. You complete the first bit, upload it, and then while you're putting together the next, realise you forgot something. So it's kind of a jumble, but since one item will occasionally refer to another later in the game, it doesn't really matter that much. But we can start from the start in Sarah's bedroom as the game begins. This soccer certificate had 2 components in the PS3 game. The rosette was separate, and it was possible with a bit of jiggery-pokery to get a view of her full name. Now that can't be done now, as the artworks have been combined, but that's too late for us trivia nerds. Now, we already know her name is Sarah Miller, so we now know the full names of Sarah, Joel and Tommy. Now, talking of Joel, we don't know exactly what he does for a living, only that it has something to do with construction. There's a few books on the subject scattered around the house, plus this technical drawing and what may be some kind of manifest or checklist on a table outside the door to Joel's room. Now, all it tells us is Joel is very unlikely to be a labourer. I'd guess at the very least a foreman, maybe even more senior a position. We don't know. For the first time player, the picture above Joel's bed will mean nothing. But of course, for us veterans, the winter season. For some reason, talking of pictures, for some reason, I thought I had at some point seen a photo of Sarah's mother, but I've hunted all over for it and I can only conclude that I imagined it. But of various family pictures around the house, there is one of Sarah as a toddler. Now, at the university, Joel tells Ellie that he was pretty young when Sarah was born, and she's, what, about 2 years old here? But Joel doesn't actually look that young, does he? Or is that just what a beard does? Now, one thing we know about Joel is he likes his cars, especially the classics. There's this picture in his study, and beyond his reflection in the glass door is another old beast. Now, the first time I ever spotted this was in gameplay, just a quick glance, and I thought it might be a renovation project, but it actually looks like it's in fairly good nick. So it's either just well kept, or it could actually be a completed renovation. Sadly, Ellie never got to enjoy real video games, but it seems Sarah did. There's a PS3 under the TV, and note, 2 controllers plugged in. There are in fact quite a few PS3s scattered throughout the game, and I had planned on showing them all, but a camera grab of the winter example involves going through a lot of difficult combat first before getting there. Oh, and talking of Ellie and video games, you know the building in Billstown where the arcade machine is? The speedrunning community will be pleased to know there appears to be a nod, okay, a coincidence, a nod to this game's world record holder on glitchless grounded mode. Hi there, Ant. Now, it's time to leave the house and head for town. Sarah's view of the city from her bedroom is the same as she gets looking out of the back of the car. Now, this cityscape isn't a single 2D image. It's an arrangement of separate buildings, all 2D, but placed at differing depths to give the illusion of 3D perspective. The guy we see loading stuff into the back of the family car never actually picks anything up, he just mimes the movement. And when he's finished, he goes over to the truck on the left, but that truck has no hitbox, and he walks right into the middle of it and assumes the T-pose, which automatically stops the motion capture recording. Oh, and we're going to see this guy again very shortly. In the meantime, Tommy takes us for a ride into town, and we see a number of destination signs. Now, they're all real places, of course, but don't try to use the mileage indicators and directions to try and plot where Joel's house is. They're done in such a way that it's impossible. We also pass the burning shell of Lewis's farm, except it's not a shell. Now, I know it's a boundary break thing, but we're here, we're looking at it. Now, this building is comprised of rooms. It's all architecturally complete. There's no furniture, but the floors, walls and ceilings are all made of burning wooden beams. Oh, and the guy loading family belongings into the car? Here he is again. Well, not him as such, we haven't been overtaken, but the guy being attacked here is the same character model as the one we saw a few miles back. Oh, and this line of traffic stretching out to the bridge? All individual vehicles, all 3D models, and lots of them. At least 50 or 60, I'd guess. It could be as many as 100. So we get into town and enjoy the mayhem. Get out of the way, old man! We don't get time to check out what's showing at the cinema, but with a pause and a bit of zoom, well, there you go. Take your pick. Might have to wait for the DVDs though, lol. Bye bye, Sarah. Oh, hello Tess, you beautiful buff thing you. We get our first real oddity as we begin to walk through the quarantine zone. After you've passed the shooting gallery on the left, the game sort of guides you towards reaching the checkpoint. You can, of course, wander around and engage in a few bits of optional dialogue, but in terms of scenery, there isn't all that much. It's quite a confined area. But over the pair of big gates at the far end, we seem to be unusually close to Pittsburgh. Now, this artwork is, of course, the same as the one outside the Hotel Grand in Pittsburgh. Oh, lovely Tess. Gorgeous, fit as ninepence, Tess. Shall we go outside? Now, had we been able to get a snack from the cafe, there's a pretty good menu, although I'd probably steer clear of the mushroom attack. But oh, luscious, generously breasted Tess. We must away. We have work to do. On the journey to meet and deal with Robert, we enter a small area of market stalls. There's quite a few optional conversations if you seek them out. But just before we see Joel confronted by Malik, you may just glimpse a group of guys playing cards. The surprising thing here is the cards. You really can't see them. But if we play with the brightness and the contrast, it turns out the cards are actual playing cards. Well, there you go. Anyway, goodbye Ponytail, you are now an ex-Robert. Time to meet... oh, Marlene. There's an interesting graphical what's-it after the military encounter on the bridge. You can, of course, make it not an encounter, but if you choose to kill the soldiers, Marlene will offer a brief but moving valediction to poor Warren. Anyway, descend the steps, dealing with the soldier down there, and look across the river to the left. Now this building looks quite normal, but check out the wonky brickwork. Freaky. There's a nice little detail once Joel has begun escorting Ellie to the safe house. As you descend from the plaza, ready to turn right and go down the steps, this trio of potential curfew breakers scurries across to enter a pizza place over the road. Something you see very little of in this game is tiling, that is a small piece of art texture repeated. But if you look out of a window, and you get the same thing on either side by the way, I'm just showing one, out of the window from the walkway before reaching the apartment, it's there on the road surface. Now, most of the polys here are fairly low resolution. Look at the overturned car, for example. But it isn't surprising. Ellie and Joel are engaged in dialogue, and the game is giving you a direct path, so there may not be much temptation to look around. The only other noticeable one is perhaps less expected. It's this snow texture at this section and around the corner as well, as Ellie uses Callus to lead David's gang away from Joel. Talking of whom? Now, this isn't an oddity or anything like that. It's just a game tip if you struggle with Joel's first combat after waking to find Ellie gone. Jogging down this street, keep your flashlight on. A few steps beyond this point, you get the controller shake prompt and the light goes out. That's your cue to crouch and aim a gun, ideally a scoped one, at the gate ahead to kill the 3 guys who emerge from it. Sadly, if you have to do a restart encounter, it doesn't work. You'll just have to remember exactly where you were when the flashlight went out first time. Just 3 more little things to mention from various points in the game. Remember, I'm planning on more stuff, it's just a lot of it involves lengthy gameplay before I can reach the relevant locations. One nice touch is in Billstown after the first cutscene when you meet him. On the wall is this notice board which includes an advertisement for guitar lessons. After Joel wakes up on the banks of the Allegheny River in Pittsburgh, the game wants you to walk forward to go with Ellie and Henry and Sam, but you can turn around and go to the other end of the beach, where you get this view of how far away the Fort Duquesne Bridge is. And finally, one of the oddest of oddities. I think one of Anthony Caliber's Twitch viewers by the name of CD Andrew was the first to spot it. The first combat at the university involves going up to a first floor room, clearing it of runners and starting the generator. If you hop out onto the balcony, you get a nice view of a big courtyard with a statue in the middle. That guy. Now, here's why this bit is so strange. We're going to ride Callus into that courtyard, and gameplay is only interrupted by a very short quick time of Joel mounting the horse. In other words, what we saw from the balcony was all the assets loaded in, including, of course, the balcony and windows. But if you go to the statue and look back to where the balcony and windows should be... Okay. That's it for now. Like I said, I'm planning another one of these, at least another one, at some point. Thanks for watching. Dino checking out. Bye-bye.